Hi there everybody, Morgan with Evan Answer here, and today I want to share with you how I put together this three-dimensional geometric backdrop. It's really simple to assemble but has a real wow factor at any kind of event or party. So follow along and I'll show you how I did it. The first thing to do is make all of the 3D triangles. So I'm going to be using my cutting mat, an X-Acto blade, and a pencil to do this, as well as my ruler. And I've made a set of templates to make this super easy. So if you'd like, those will be in the description box below to help this along really well. But you'll also be able to see what I'm doing here if you want to just follow along. So I've got a couple different sizes. This one is sized to fit an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. And then I've got some larger ones that'll fit on poster board and some mat board that I've got. So for the 8.5 by 11 size, I'm just going to take that piece of cardstock and fold it in half lengthwise and really press down on that seam to make sure it's really sharp. And then I'm just going to take my pencil and mark where that halfway point is, just so it's a little easier to see. And then from the short end, I'm going to measure up 3 inches, and this is going to be the widest point of my triangle. So I'm just going to draw a line there so it's easy to see, and then from the top center point to the very end of that line, I'm going to make a mark with the pencil, and then I'm going to come back over it with the dull side of my X-Acto blade. I'm not going to cut it, I'm just going to score it lightly, and this will make it much easier to fold in a little bit. I'm going to move that ruler over 1 inch from the previous mark and go ahead and cut off that corner. And then I'm going to repeat this on the opposite side. So from the very center point down to that 3-inch line, make a mark, score it, move the ruler out 1 inch, and this is going to create a flap, and that flap is how we'll attach the triangle to the backdrop. So it's really important that there is a flap there, and it'll make attaching it much easier later. And now I'm just going to take from that 3-inch line to the lower center point and make another cut here. Don't need a pencil mark, just go ahead and cut this free, and this will be the opposite short end of the triangle. Next, I need to trim down the flaps at the very point of the triangle because there's too much paper there when we go to fold the triangle into its three-dimensional form. So we have to cut away that excess paper. And I'm just doing that at a 45-degree angle from the center line, and that's just going to remove the bulk of paper so that this will fold really nicely when we go to put it into its three-dimensional shape. And that's the last cut. So now we're ready to just fold our score points, which is those flaps. So I'm going to fold it back and then fold it towards the inside. So you want these flaps to point the pencil marks on the inside of the triangle, and then with a gentle bend of that center fold, it'll make a three-dimensional triangle. So we're just going to repeat this with all the different colors and sizes. So this is a larger piece of colored drawing paper that I've got, and I'll also be using some poster board as well. And for this one, I'm just going to use a template that I've sized up. So it's the same proportions as the 8.5 by 11 inch triangle, it's just bigger. So for my project, I'm using several different kinds of paper, mainly because I couldn't find the colors that I needed in the right sizes. So ideally you'd like to have all one kind of paper, but because I wanted at least a cardstock worth of thickness to my paper, it did limit what I could use, so I used some cardstock, this is some drawing paper, as well as some poster board, and those gave me enough surface area to cut out even the largest of triangles. The backdrop I'm creating is 4 feet wide by 8 feet tall, and this is perfect to put behind a kick table or if you need a small photo booth or Instagram station. That's the kind of size that I'm going for, so I only used about 15 triangles in various sizes. If you wanted to make a bigger wall, you would definitely want more triangles, but I found that 15 was the right amount for this project. Now you could absolutely stick these directly to a wall to make this backdrop, but I wanted mine to be portable, so I found this really interesting product, and it's a shelf liner, but it's a 4x8 sheet of this like thicker plastic, but it rolls up easily for transportation, and that's where I'm going to be sticking mine to. And on the back side of this sheet, I actually took some pipe cleaners and hot glued 4 of them to the top back side of this, and that's how I'm going to hang it from my backdrop stand. So this is the sheet laying on the ground, and I've got the pipe cleaners at the top of the screen laying against the floor, and I'm temporarily attaching the triangles to the board and just using a little bit of masking tape because I wanted to visualize what this would look like and step back and look at it and make sure the triangles were in the right orientation. So I did this with all of my triangles to get a good sense of where I wanted them. and to get the spacing correct up off the floor. So you'll notice I've got 2 pieces of red tape towards the lower side of the screen. That's because I measured up from the floor what would be covered behind the table so that I'm not putting triangles behind the table. So this is what it looks like, and then I'm coming back with my hot glue gun to secure those more permanently. So I'm just putting a couple dots of glue underneath the flaps or directly to the flaps of the triangle, and then gently pressing down on it until that glue has a chance to dry, and doing that on both sides. As you're gluing, you can absolutely change the height of the triangle by spreading it out wider or bringing those sides in narrower, and that'll make the triangle taller or shorter. And so I just repeated this for all the triangles, gluing them in place, and this hot glue is going to be a temporary solution for me. I plan to pull these back off the board as soon as the event is over, but the hot glue will definitely hold it in place long enough to get through the event. And then it was time to hang this all up. So I'm taking a couple more pipe cleaners and threading them through the loops that I've already hot glued to the back side of this board. And these new pipe cleaners are what I'm going to attach to the pole of my backdrop stand. So I'm just going to fold these over so they stay in place. And then I'm going to gently lift the entire board, trying not to bend it too much where the triangles are. And I'm just going to step up on a stool here and twist those pipe cleaners around the pole of my backdrop stand. And that's going to be enough to hold this in place because this entire setup is really lightweight. The last couple details for this is throwing a purple coordinating tablecloth over my table and bringing over a couple extra triangles that I had cut out that I didn't end up needing for the wall, which I think make really great table decorations. And then behind the table, I've laid out an LED light as an uplight, which just added a wonderful effect to the geometric patterns and really accentuates their shape. I hope you found today's project inspirational. This is a super simple build, but it had such impact to a small area. So if you give this a try, let me know. I'd love to hear about it in the comments below how it went for you. If you enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing to the channel. We've got all kinds of different event backdrops, balloon setups, as well as Q&As about all kinds of event questions you may have. So follow along, and until the next time, stay creative!